So today we're joined by Brandon Plant. Brandon is a hockey guy. You cover the Senators, right? Do you cover baseball at all or just hockey?
Just hockey, maybe in the future baseball. Maybe
Yeah,
this is the first time.
Okay.
exactly. You're getting started.
Maybe this is the beginning of something beautiful.
Hopefully.
but a huge Team Israel fan, as am I. And we figured we could just do a quick, Team Israel prep. So what do you think? You want to just give me your initial thoughts on the team? What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, so been a big fan for quite some time, followed since 2015. As somebody that's Jewish, seeing an Israeli team, of course, is awesome. There's not many Israeli teams. We're a small nation, but to have an Israeli team full of Jewish players, of course, it's just really special. So 2015, after that incredible run to qualify, then 2017 doesn't need to be said. It's just remarkable what happened, the way we really shocked the world and proved the doubters wrong. It's got me excited, of course. And this roster is the best Jewish baseball team ever. But the issue is our pool is disgusting in the worst way possible. You got Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua, of course, right? And they have some players too. So it's not easy. I think the expectations for Israel would be best case, probably third. Somehow you can maybe eke out a couple of wins, upset one of the three, and of course beat Nicaragua. Worst case is fourth, which means at least at the very minimum, that's the basis requirement to qualify for the next tournament. You won't have to go into qualifications, again. So I would expect 3 to 4. And any other pool, I think Israel advances to the second round again. I just think they kind of got screwed with a hell of a division.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you brought up, re-qualifying, because I was talking to Sean Spradling, who I know you know. And he's awesome. And I was talking to him, and he said that Josh Wolf told him that they are going to start Dean Kramer against Nicaragua, and they basically were like, we're not going 0-4. We don't want to requalify. If we can win and move on, great. But our goal is to not have to requalify. So on the one hand, I guess you could have thrown Dean Kramer, your best guy, against, Puerto Rico or something, and try to get another win. But the problem is you only have one Dean Kramer, and you got 3 games you have to win. So if you got to pick one, you want to win the most winnable game, and then try and do that. So I guess I understand the thought process. I don't know. I was kind of hoping they pitch him against Puerto Rico and try to eke out a win that way and finish third, but I understand.
Yeah, if I can just chime in here, I absolutely agree with you. I was checking MLB.com earlier, and I was surprised to see that Kramer's name not only was already announced, because I remember if you watched the Heading Home documentary, Jerry Weinstein, there's a clip, I watched it the other day, where he was calling on the day of the game against Korea, asking who they're starting. So I was surprised that Kramer was announced so early. But once again, I think that's definitely the smarter play. Get the win that you're expecting to get. Don't overthink it. Just qualify for the next tournament and see what happens here. He still have some capable arms, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So you got some depth there. They can still eke out a win with the offense we got. I think it's a smart play. Put your best guy for the game. You have the best chance to win. Don't overthink it. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, as far as I can tell, there's no material difference between finishing fourth and finishing third.
Yeah.
So, I get in a pool that they're in. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm in 180p, but, so be it. Now I'm a PS1 cinematic. In a pool like the one they're in, yeah, I mean, you're pretty much just looking at, we don't want to go back to qualifiers. So I understand the decision. I mean, we have seen that, some of these games we thought were locks were not locks.
Yes, that is true.
And, but on the other hand, Korea and the Dominican Republic are different levels of really good. So I get it. I get why they're just focusing on, we don't want to go back to qualifiers. And then, maybe next time around, maybe they get put in a pool that's actually winnable.
I mean, look, I absolutely agree with you. And I think we were talking about this, Ethan and I, before the recording begun, about how far this team and this program has gone in less than 10 years. We're talking about 2013, they just missed out on the qualification. 2015, they finally qualified. And since 2015, the last 7-8 years, qualified. Incredible run, 6 in WBC 2017. Olympics, 1 run away from potentially getting third or second or first, getting a chance at a medal at the Olympics, top 6 in the world, guys. And then WBC now, I mean, once again, I completely agree with you guys. The goal should always be to continue to develop. We have some great talent, some great young talent on this team too. And like you said, third and fourth, there's not really much of a difference. Just continue to grow and develop. And more importantly, have some more Israeli players from Israel actually come to the team too. Shlomo Lepetz, of course, is a legend, but he's 44 or whatever, right? So that's the
play.
Right, exactly. So
is he the top name on Team Israel, by the way?
I got it right here. I think there's another really good one. Rossman or something. Bubby Rossman. I love that name.
Bubby Rossman is a good name.
Electric name. There's some really good names on this team.
Yeah, I think you nailed it when you said it's more about, growing the program. And obviously, we don't have to get it. We're all Jews or part Jews. So what's the point bashing?
Yeah.
But
true.
We don't have to get into, whether or not they should, have a team of more Israelis and all that. But I think you're right. If you can qualify, then you can just sort of settle in, focus on building your team next time instead of having to, potentially have to requalify or get knocked out, which would suck even harder. One thing that bums me out, Brandon, I've talked about this a lot, is Team Israel. People will say they have sort of an unfair advantage by being able to bring in so many Israelis, loosest definition of the word. And obviously I don't subscribe to that, but I think they've brought in a lot of guys that you could say, oh, they're barely connected. They lost so many guys too. Like I say this all the time, Paul Goldschmidt, Max Fried, Dylan Cease, Alex Bregman, right? Mike Moustakas, Adam Ottavino. Like I can keep going of just naming stars that they didn't get to play for him. Yeah. And I think, they still have a decent enough roster. Obviously, they would have a chance of going to the finals if they had all those guys. But, what do you say when people say that? Do you just say deal with it, or?
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, Kingdom of Netherlands literally put Kingdom of before because there's so many players. I don't mean to call them out. It's totally fine. It's within the rules. But they literally did that because there's so many players coming from parts of the world that are not the Netherlands that are associated with the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So Israel's not the only country to have that. It's a rule. It's a rule for a reason. And I got no issue with it. Look, Israel is the Jewish state. So having Jewish players that have an ability to make aliyah and become citizens of Israel, I mean, it doesn't matter if they're Israeli or just Jewish. It's the same thing, in my opinion, right? So if Netherlands can do it, if Italy, if all these different countries can do it as they should, why can't Israel? So I don't see why it's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember as we were going over some of the other teams and like a lot of these Latin American teams, like if you look at where the players are from, a lot of them aren't from the country that they're representing. A lot of them just have heritage. And, yeah, if you're a guy who's a little bit fringy and you're from the Dominican Republic, like, yeah, you're probably never going to represent the Dominican Republic. But, if you got Colombian heritage, you go play for Colombia. I mean, obviously, we want to see teams put out as much of a domestic product as they can. Like, that's part of the reason why I love the Czech team, because it's like they have, 3 players who aren't from the Czech Republic?
Yeah, only a couple.
Yeah, it's Sogard, Willie Scala, and one other guy, I think.
Oh, but, Jake, yeah, right? Jew.
What was that?
Jake Rabinowitz, Jew.
Oh, you're right, yeah. Yeah, we like to see teams put out, domestic products, but until you get a lot of countries to that point, and we talked about this with Sean, too. Like, right now, you only have maybe, 4 countries that can put out entirely domestic teams that have any hope of competing. So it's hard to get mad at teams like Israel or like Italy is doing the same thing. It's all American guys. Like, what else are they going to do until, baseball is better developed in those countries?
Exactly. Keyword development. We were talking about it at the beginning. It's all about development. That's the whole point of this, right? That's why MLB, Rob Manfred, they're so supportive of the WBC and push it so much because of the growth potential of it. Israel, look, they had a league a little bit ago. They now have a league again, I believe, but it's starting to grow. They're starting to build more fields. There's starting to be many more Israeli players. And not even just in Israel. Like you said, let's take a look around the world. Czech Republic, Britain, all these different countries, China, Taiwan, whatever, all these different countries are really starting to develop with their baseball programs. And that's a great thing just for the sport in general. Of course, USA, Japan, South Korea, the DR, all these countries, of course, are juggernauts. They don't have issues. But I feel like the WBC, of course, those teams are the headliners that are going to win more likely than not. But I always look at the smaller teams. Like, look at Australia today with Korea. I mean, these are great stories that probably for people in Australia, kids that are looking to pick up a sport is going to inspire them. I won't say I would be lying to you if I said Israel's success just in 2015 to qualify got me hooked for life. So I know how important that is in a personal experience, and I'm sure for many millions of kids out there, it's the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it. I just realized I took us way far afield from the actual team. So we can rein it back in. We said they're going to start Dean Kramer against Nicaragua. So Sean has the rotation as Dean Kramer, Robert Stock, Colton Gordon, and Gold. How confident are you in those four?
We got a mix of good pro experience, not an all-star, but an MLB guy in Kramer, and then some minor experience. I believe, what's his name again? Gold. He has a very good 2.20 ERA with Houston, I believe. But that was only with single A. So he's inexperienced, but he's got some good stuff. And I mean, that could translate for sure. Look again, WBC, you have 75. I think the pitch limit's 75. You have a good bullpen here. So I think a game like that will probably be a bullpen type of game. But hey, if he has a good fastball, which I think he does, is what I read, he can definitely get you a couple innings. Stock, I believe, is the guy with experience. He's a little older. Look, this is a strong rotation compared to what we've had in the past. So once again, that's another guy that can probably go 2-3 innings, eat up some innings, and kind of relieve your bullpen a little bit. Kramer, enough said. I mean, that guy, he can go as long as possible, 3-4 innings, as long as he maximizes his pitches through the innings. But Kramer, fantastic, best pitcher to ever pitch for Israel for sure. And then of course Gordon, I believe I haven't mentioned. I think he's another minor league guy. So with all these guys, you have experience, you have a bit of youth, you have a bit of veteran, and you have a bit of real good MLB experience too. So you have a good bit of both. And I think in any other pool that's exciting, but in this pool, once again with DR, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, you want to have 4 MLB arms there instead. So I think the bullpen's going to be relied on a lot with the other guys starting. But with Kramer, I'm not too worried. The other ones, who knows? It's baseball. They have good resumes and good experience and, good projections. But, once again, we'll have to see. Baseball is a day-by-day game.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just brought up is really important when you said Dean Kramer is the best pitcher that they've ever had pitch for them, which is true. But the problem is Israel's gotten a lot better, and they're bringing their best roster ever. But the problem is everybody else is also bringing their best roster to the WBC too. So
except for Canada.
True.
You don't talk about that.
But Cuba bringing active MLB players for the first time, their roster is very much improved, and they just went, they started off 0-2. So everybody else has stepped up their game. So it's a matter of, has Israel stepped up their game enough to hang in with the Dominican Republic and everything like that?
I'll just say quickly, I do think they did. I mean, if you look at the bullpen, they have a plethora of great MLB arms experience. I mean, that's what killed them in the Olympics. That's what killed them in 2017. Their bullpens just couldn't keep up in those late inning grinding type games. That's what killed them. This year, for the first time probably ever, I'm not worried about the bullpen. I think this is the strongest bullpen by far. And when you have a strong bullpen with the WBC rules on starting pitching, Israel has a shot. It's up to the offense, really. I think the pitching, you have experience there. They're all affiliate arms, if not better. I'm not worried about the rotation. We'll see if they can keep up with GR and stuff. But the bullpen, I mean, if you look at that bullpen, some really big names as well, with lots of MLB experience. The bullpen really excites me. So I do think they've improved.
One bullpen arm I want to ask you about, and I don't know if you'll know anything about this. Sean has Adam Kolarek listed as in the designated pitcher pool, which means he could come in later on, but he's not going to be pitching. Do you know why that is? I would think he would be one of their better arms.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of pitchers that weren't even listed on the original roster to begin with that weren't there. I still question why. I unfortunately have no idea, but I do like to see Shlomo Lipitz there. That does excite me. I'm glad that he's involved.
Of course. And Jake Kalish, my favorite player in all of baseball, because people used to tell me I look like him. So I'm going to take that and run with it. So what do you think of their lineup? I saw Sean sent me one of their lineups from one of their practice games, but they didn't have Jock Peterson, I think. So it was a little off. But, what do you think of their guys? We can, just go over, their starting 9 if you want.
Yeah, shout out to Sean. I got it right here, the projected lineup. So look, you got a good mix of experience here, and I don't want to keep on going on with the experience like I did with the rotation, but that's the common theme with this team, experience. They have it throughout the lineup, whether it's youth or veteran, you have a lot of experience here. Look, Garrett Stubbs, MLB guy, good power, good underlying numbers, very good ability to get on base, great for the leadoff. Lavarnway, MVP from 2017, that guy can rake. Love to see him back here, probably in a 5th spot, something like that. Power guy. Zach Galoff, I mean, he's like the number 2 rated prospect in the A's system. I mean, the A's have a lot of great prospects, so that's very encouraging. And that's a great piece there for the infield. Jock Peterson, enough said. I mean, all-star, 2-time all-star, 23, 24 bombs last year. That is your best player. Matt Mervis, I'm very excited to see, one of the best second base prospects in the entire MLB. The guy is projected to be potentially an all-star in the MLB as well. I think having him in the infield will vastly help our defense. And I'm excited to see him rake. Apparently he has very good power metrics and stuff. So I'm excited to see how that works for him. Alex Dickerson, great, once again, to say the word, experience, over 1,000 MLB at bats, even last year. Not the best line, under 200, of course, but, look, in WBC, you're playing against guys that are AA pitchers, whatever. Experience can always translate and help. So Dickerson will definitely help fortify the bottom third of the lineup. Spencer Horwitz, believe that's the Blue Jays prospect, AAA. He's gotten some at-bats against some really good pitchers, so I'm sure that can translate. I think he has some good speed, too, which you definitely need on the base paths. Danny Valencia, once again, that's a guy that's been an all-star, I believe, in the MLB many, many seasons. Like Lavarnway, has some good power. And Wolanski, I don't know too much about. I'm sure I believe he's young, so he probably has some speed to him as well. But when I think about this roster is you have a good blend of power, speed, and contact ability. And I think when you mix all those 3 things in, of course, you're going to translate potentially to wins. So I like the mix. I like that they have some guys who can really rake, like Lavarnway and Peterson, Valencia. I like they have guys that can get on base, like Stubbs and Galoff and Mervis, who, Mervis can do both power and just get on base. And then throughout the lineup, they have some complementary players. So I think this is a very, very underrated batting core. And once again, if they were in any other pool, this batting core would probably be one of the better ones in the pool and would give them a shot every game.
Yeah, agreed 100%. We like to do, when we've had people on to talk about teams, who's your MVP, so hitter, and who's your Cy Young for this team, do you think?
Well, unfortunately for Israel, the answer is probably a little easy. I say the MVP goes probably to Jock Peterson, but I'm watching Matt Mervis. I really am excited to see this guy play. There's been a lot
what I was going to say. I'm really liking Mervis the more I learn about him. So
right, yeah, Cub fans rave about the guy, and when you see a fan base unanimously, and fan bases never unanimously agree on a player. When they unanimously agree on a player, that's a good sign. So Mervis is somebody I'm watching. But Peterson, of course, you have to say him, right? He's like the best player. He's like our true all-star that can go head-to-head with anyone in the pool. And for arms, I mean, for the rotation, Dean Kramer, I mean, he has the easiest, quote-unquote, easiest matchup, right, with Nicaragua. And I mean, no disrespect, they have a good roster with some good experience there as well. But DR, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, there's no comparison. So Dean Kramer, I think he, of course, is the Cy Young candidate. If you look at the bullpen, I guess, I'll take a look here. I mean, you have some good names. Richard Blyer probably has a chance to be probably the best name out of the bullpen. There's a couple other guys, but Kramer and Peterson, I guess that's kind of, a little expected, but sometimes the most expected answers are the best ones to say.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we had that conversation with Sean. We were like, "Oh, who do you think's the best player on Team Japan?" And it's like, well.
Yeah, he was like, "Am I allowed to say Otani?"
Yeah.
Who you got, Tom?
Who do I have? I'm going with Mervis for MVP. And I mean, pitching for Cy Young. I mean, yeah, it's a little boring, but probably Dean Kramer.
Can I go outside the box for both picks? Ready?
No, you know what? No, you can't.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to. You're saying Kramer and Peterson, and that's that. All right.
Yeah.
Here's my thinking, and it's a little off the wall. Kramer, I think, has a little bit of an easy matchup. I think they should cruise, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that's only one game. They have a lot of lefties in the bullpen, right? They've got Richmond and Blyer, stuff like that, but they need a shutdown righty, which I'm not sure they have. I think the first right-hander you're going to go to is Zach Weiss, who was pretty good for the Angels last year. And then for hitters, Jock Peterson's the obvious pick. However, I think teams are going to be careful with him. I think him and Mervis and Horwitz and all are all left-handed hitters. This is a very lefty-heavy lineup. I think they're going to try and bring in lefties and try and mow them down. I'm going Danny Valencia. Huge handed power. He's only one of only a few righties in the lineup, so I think he's going to see some left-handed, pitching. I think Danny Valencia's going to crush, and he crushed in the Olympic qualifiers. So I like Danny Valencia for it, but obviously Peterson and Kramer are kind of the obvious pick.
Right. Obviously, we're a little closer to being correct than you are, but other than that.
Of course.
I'll be honest, though. I love the Zach Weiss pick. I mean, at the Olympics, he really has a very, very powerful fastball. When you have guys on DR, Puerto Rico, Venezuela that are power hitters that are swinging for the fences, especially against a guy like Zach Weiss, who they probably wouldn't recognize. He only pitched like 11 innings last year with Los Angeles. This is a kind of matchup where if he can overpower them with that fastball up high or whatever, that is a great matchup, and I love that pick. That's a very sneaky one, and Zach Weiss is going to be somebody, a part of this program for years to come. He has Israeli citizenship, of course, but so he'll be a part of future Olympics potentially, but just for WBC or what other tournament. I mean, that's a guy, he's young, he's starting to come into his own, and once again, that fastball, it's very, very powerful against guys like DR or Venezuela or Puerto Rico that swing for the fences.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you wanted to get to or anything about Team Israel?
Me?
Yeah. No, I know Tom. Yeah. I can talk to him whatever I want.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk on the phone every day.
Well, we're cousins. We can talk whatever we want.
Great question. I think that's a really good question, actually. I'm trying to think. I think the one thing that we should look for Team Israel is the bullpen. Once again, I think Israel has suffered, like I said earlier in this interview, late in games because of lack of bullpen depth. It's what's held them back. So I think I'm really excited to see how this bullpen performs. I think not enough people are speaking about the experience throughout the bullpen. Look, there's only a few guys that are, MLB really, really known. But if you have majority of the bullpen are affiliate guys and above AA, not many other teams throughout the tournament can say that. So Israel has very, very good depth in the bullpen. And once again, first round rules in WBC, you can't pitch past 4 innings, under 75 pitches or whatever. This is good for Israel. It's all up to the batting core to keep up with the pitching. I think, once again, this is Israel's strongest pitching staff ever. And once again, it's so cliche to say, it's like hockey, bring it back to hockey's the Sens guy. Yeah. You can't win a Stanley Cup or whatever without a strong goaltender. You're not going to win any games in MLB or the WBC without strong pitching.
Yeah, that's true.
100%. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think they have a sliver of a chance. I don't think it's going to happen to move on, but I'm hoping for it, man. That's the one thing I wanted to ask you really fast. Me and Tom were talking about this last night. Team Israel is my number one team in the World Baseball Classic, and then obviously I would love to see the United States win too. What are you the same way, where you have Team Israel more than you love Canada, or different, other way around?
I think the connection. Look, I love my country. I love Canada, but I think the connection with this Jewish baseball team. Look, Israel doesn't have any national teams. We have like a Division III hockey team. Soccer never really does any well. And to be honest, I don't really care about soccer.
Yeah, same.
Right? I love baseball. And the story, the way they surprised everyone, just the whole aura around baseball players embracing their Jewishness, their heritage, and representing Israel, that's so special to me, especially for a sport that I love. So Israel's number one for that alone. Canada's number 2, without a doubt. I watch all the Canadian games. I did it 2017 too. Wasn't much to watch, but I watch because I'm Canadian. I would love to see them perform. My ideal matchup in the final will be Israel Canada, right? But unfortunately, Canada, they got Freddie Freeman, they got O'Neill, they got some guys, but they're not that exciting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it dries up pretty fast after that.
Canada. Yeah, me and Tom frequently roast Canada.
I've been making a lot of memes about Team Canada. So,
Canada's somehow you look at their roster and they have more exciting names than you thought, and yet they're still super underwhelming. It's
right.
So weird.
Because with all the names that are Canadian, you would expect a better lineup. You really would.
Yeah. Well, dude, I was telling this to Tom. Their pitching staff is an absolute graveyard, man. They're just digging people up out of the dead, like Andrew Walters and John Axford.
Yeah. Adam Lowen.
Who are these?
Yeah.
Well, it's bad, man. But anyway, I'm wishing you the best for Canada. I think that it would be fun if they moved on. I don't know if it's going to happen, but
they're in a similarly ruthless pool. They got to get past the U.S. and Mexico.
Yeah, Colombia, Mexico, U.S. and Great Britain. I think Great Britain's going to upset them, but I guess for your sake, I will be hoping that they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Sell out.
Yeah, that would be tough. That would be tough. Anyway, Brandon, what's the best place for people to follow you and find all your stuff?
Yeah, so I'll plug my personal at plant_Brandon on Twitter. You can check out my YouTube channel, Sens Talk, if you like, if you're a Sens fan. But yeah, I tweet. I love to follow fellow Jewish people, of course, fellow Team Israel fans. So at plant_Brandon on Twitter is where you can find me. I'll be tweeting quite a bit the next couple of weeks. So excited.
Absolutely,
Cool.
yeah. Well, these two quarter Jews have enjoyed spending time with
Yeah,
them.
I was
You.
gonna say best thing I can do is 25%.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts on Team Israel. And let's do it again, and we can talk about how they've been faring.
Absolutely, my friends. It was an absolute pleasure. And go Team Israel. Let's see how they can do.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks again, man. This has been great.